There you are.
Hey there and welcome back to Portal. My name is Pete and today we complete the third and final part of Portal, and at the end of that there may or may not be cake.
The experiment is nearing its conclusion. The Enrichment Center is required to remind you that you will be baked, and then there will be cake.
And the friendly computer voice here reassures us that there will be cake at the end, although we have also been already told the opposite, as in the last video we discovered a few writings on the wall, and those specifically stated that the cake was a lie. Now we will have to see who we can trust. For now though, let's focus on the action at hand, and that includes taking care of the first radio in this episode. Just as a quick reminder, for the transmission received achievement we need to change the transmissions of 26 radios throughout the game, and to do that those radios need to be repositioned. Radio number 20 here, for example, needs to be put at the very top of the chamber, which can easily be achieved with 2 portals. And now we get straight to another thing where portals will be of use, and that is the terminal velocity achievement. To complete that achievement we need to fall 30,000 feet, and that is actually pretty easy. We just need to place one portal above the other and then let ourselves fall and wait for a while. Alright, depending on how far away your portals are from each other, this can take between 5 to 10 minutes, just enough time to maybe grab yourself a coffee and then return for the achievement to be unlocked. The next few jumps through the chamber are fairly straightforward, no pun intended, and they bring us up to a platform with a red button on it. That button should be kept in mind as it will become important later. For now though, we can press its smaller cousin around the corner and then proceed. And as you can see, we now end up in a fairly sticky situation with 4 turrets in the room with us, although those turrets don't really pose too much of a threat if we just move over to the side here and remain there for a moment. Since the turrets are standing on glass platforms, we sadly can't use portals to take them out, but we also don't have to. Instead, we can use the rotating energy ball machine in the middle and use that to shoot the turrets down. By the way, if you're having trouble aiming here, simply place one portal on the red dot that the laser beam generates, as the laser beam forms a perfect straight line towards the turret itself. Up next, we need to have an energy ball come out of this section of wall that sticks out here, and once the energy ball comes out, we quickly need to place 2 new portals that will get us up to the button here. Pressing that button will for a few seconds open a door, allowing the energy ball to pass through and hit the receiving device. That in turn will set a platform into motion that is capable of moving us across the room, but before we do that there is one more thing we need to grab. With a portal right next to the glass box and one down on the floor, we are able to catapult ourselves on top of the box where we find the second radio of this chamber. To alter this radio's frequency we just need to carry it to the other side of the room, and for that we can use the platform that we just set into motion earlier. And here we are, transmission changed, 21 radios down, 5 more to go. Now a portal will bring us back to the entrance of the chamber, but not before pressing the red button here, as that will for a few seconds open the entrance, or exit depending on how you want to look at it, allowing us to place a portal on the sloped section of wall here. One long jump gets us across, we can now grab a cube and then return. Now sadly, in the meantime the exit has closed again, which means we can drop off the cube but not leave just yet. Instead we have to take one last trip with the moving platform. That will get us back down to the area with the radio in it, and from here we can once again press the button to open the exit, then return with a portal, grab the cube and leave. And of course, that cube needs to be placed on top of the big red button we passed by earlier, which opens up the way to the next section. And before we continue, we will in a few seconds shoot down another camera, the first one of this video, but number 30 in this playthrough.
Vital testing apparatus destroyed.
And now we already get to the third radio in this chamber, which we can locate at the bottom of the small pit here. For the moment we can't do much more than to just simply take it back up with us, and very important here, place it as close to the acid pool as is safely possible. Now we can work our way up the chamber, which is a fairly easy bouncing exercise. Keep in mind to always alternate between the orange and blue portals, and that should get you up to the top safely.
Well done. Be advised that the next test requires exposure to uninsulated electrical parts that may be dangerous under certain conditions. For more information, please attend an Enrichment Center Electrical Safety Seminar.
And here you can see the reason why we placed the radio where we did. We could now in theory simply shoot it up to us with a portal, but I chose the safe approach of going down myself. Placing the radio in front of the elevator will alter its transmission, and we now have this chamber successfully completed and can now proceed to the last one.
Welcome to the final test. When you are done, you will drop the device in the Equipment Recovery Annex. Enrichment Center regulations require both hands to be empty before any cake.
Alright, no time to waste, we already got the platform moving and shut down a camera, and the second one follows right here.
Vital testing apparatus destroyed.
Pressing the red button opens a gate that blocks the way, however not long enough for us to actually move through. Instead, we only have time to shoot a portal onto the wall on the other side, where we can once again rejoin with the platform. And then we shoot down camera number 33, the last one in this playthrough, to unlock the Camera Shy achievement.
Vital testing apparatus destroyed.
To get that achievement, you need to shoot down all security cameras from the walls. That is of course after you obtain the first portal gun. Not all cameras that you encounter in the game can be detached from the walls, but there are 33 in total where that's possible, and shooting them all down will get you the achievement. Now once again we have something blocking the way, but that can be circumvented with 2 smartly placed portals, and then we're already nearing the end. So there should be cake now, right?
Congratulations. The test is now over. All Aperture technologies remain safely operational up to 4,000 degrees Kelvin. Rest assured that there is absolutely no chance of a dangerous equipment malfunction prior to your victory incandescence. Thank you for participating in this Aperture Science computer-aided enrichment activity. Goodbye.
Alright, seems like the whole cake thing was indeed a lie, and we were not really meant to get out of here alive. Well, luckily we still have the portal gun, so let's escape the flames.
What are you doing? Stop it. We are pleased that you made it through the final challenge where we pretended we were going to murder you. We are very, very happy for your success. We are throwing a party in honor of your tremendous success. Place the device on the ground, then lie on your stomach with your arms at your sides. A party associate will arrive shortly to collect you for your party. Make no further attempt to leave the testing area. Assume the party escort submission position or you will miss the party.
Right, a few things at this point. The computer voice is once again talking to us as if this were part of the challenge, although I think it became quite obvious earlier that we were not intended to get here.
Hello? Where are you? I know you're there. I can feel you here. Hello?
We have also rescued a radio from the flames and are now taking that with us, as in contrast to the Camera Shy achievement, the Transmission Received achievement still continues throughout these areas. One last thing that I'd like you to remember until the end of this episode is the party escort submission position, which we were instructed to assume. The position is described as lying on the stomach with the arms on the side, and yeah, keep it in mind, it will play a role later. For now, we have changed the signal on radio number 23 of 26 and can now continue with the escape. By the way, escaping the flames also unlocked another story-related achievement, so with the Partygoer achievement completed, we now have 6 out of the 9 achievements that I have planned for this playthrough.
What are you doing? You haven't escaped, you know. You're not even going the right way. Hello? Is anyone there?
Very interesting here that the computer seems to have changed tactics, changing from telling us that everything is still part of the plan to admitting that we are in fact in the process of escaping, but apparently going into the wrong direction.
Okay, the test is over now. You win. Go back to the recovery annex for your cake. It was a fun test, and we're all impressed at how much you won. The test is over. Come back.
Now, I don't know if you were able to hear that, but the voice just mentioned that somebody else apparently cut the cake. So we are still not completely free of that whole cake promise, although at this point I think we should probably not expect to actually see some. Still, I think it's actually somewhat fascinating how contradicting the messages are that we get here, which is something that I have to admit I didn't really notice in my first few playthroughs. By the way, up next I quickly edited out a loading screen, that is why the recording looks a bit bumpy.
You're not even going the right way. Where do you think you're going? Because I don't think you're going where you think you're going.
Alright, back with the whole wrong direction theatrics, but at least for radio number 24 we are in fact moving into the right location. Just like the radio before, we will have to take this one with us for quite a while, which makes our escape slightly more complicated. Now we just gained access to a room with some tall, vertically moving pistons, and the main challenge here is of course to not get crushed. We also have to be somewhat careful with the radio, because if that falls off the piston into the ground, that could make things take even longer. As we move back up, we will place a portal in that far-off room over there, and then place a second portal directly above us, quickly snatch the radio, and the piston will push both us and the device through.
Didn't we have some fun, though? Remember when the platform was sliding into the fire pit and I said goodbye, and you were like, no. And then I was off, we pretended we were going to murder you. That was great.
Right, more pistons, but once again we can use the first set to push us onwards, while we have to tread lightly on the second set to not fall off. At the end of the room then, the radio signal changes, and we have worked ourselves one step closer towards the transmission received achievement.
You really shouldn't be here. This isn't safe for you. It's not too late for you to turn back. I'm not angry. Just go back.
Now that we have successfully navigated our way through several rather crowded rooms, we can now drop down on the pipe system that is transporting the cubes. That eventually leads us to another moving piston, which we will jump on in a second.
You should have turned left before. It's funny, actually, when you think about it. Someday we'll remember this and laugh, and laugh, and laugh. Oh boy. Well, you made us look back.
Well, that computer voice is certainly not all that helpful at the moment. A bit more useful are in fact the red symbols that we find scattered around, probably made by the same people who warned us about the fake cake promise in the first place. All signs aside, we are still trapped however and haven't found an exit yet, and now things are going to get a lot more devious. What started as a simple escape from burning fire, toxic acid and crushing pistons now gets expanded with deadly turrets. We have 3 turrets against us and at least they don't all activate at once. Still, it is easy to get caught in the crossfire here. Using portals is of course as always the best way to stay alive, while the turrets should definitely be disabled. The escape can then be made through a hole in the ceiling of the 3rd turret's room, which will promptly trigger an angry response.
You're not a good person. You know that, right? Good people don't end up here. Can you hear me?
While the friendly computer voice has resorted to simply insulting us now, we have in fact gotten our hands on another radio, one that we once again need to carry with us for a moment. And in this case that is actually somewhat convenient, because the radio can be used as sort of a projectile that we can drop from above on the turret below. Disabling the turret and dropping down opens the way onwards, and at the end of that way, right next to a big over here drawing, we can drop the radio off and strike number 25 off the list. Our escape can now continue, and we will use our old friend Momentum for that, which eventually catapults us up to the level above and into a somewhat more civilized looking area.
This is your fault. It didn't have to be like this. I'm not kidding now. Turn back or I will kill you. I'm going to kill you. And all the cake is gone. You don't even care, do you? This is your last chance.
Alright, I think even without an explanation it became quite clear how to get through here. Using the rocket turret's delay between locking on and firing, we can pretty much mark its target, then jump out of the way and use it to clear the way ahead. Now, after destroying the third window, things get a bit more tricky here, as we now have to reroute the rocket mid-flight. Of course, as always, that will be done with portals, but placing them needs to be done precisely and in quick succession to actually hit our target. As you can see, that target was the cube pipe, which upon destruction drops a very helpful cube for us. That cube can now be used to get ourselves up the air duct, at the end of which we can place another portal to be able to continue our escape. By the way, a very interesting bit from earlier. When we first entered the room with the rocket turret in it, we were told, and I believe for the first time in this game, that who, or better whatever is watching us, has actually decided to kill us. Now, the fact that our death in these experiments would be at least tolerated was a lingering suspicion from very early on, to be honest, but up until this point I think it was never actually stated that somebody wanted to see us dead. That has now changed, and we are about to see what that means. Our opposition is apparently not resting until it has us defeated, and it also seems to be increasing its efforts to achieve that. Now, what might be looking like a somewhat hopeless situation here with an overwhelming number of turrets against us, that situation is in fact quite winnable. The key to success lies pretty much in getting into one of the turret chambers as fast as possible, which you saw me do earlier. Inside those chambers, we can then simply use portals to hop from turret to turret, never crossing open ground in the process, staying out of the line of fire, and throwing the turrets down one after another to disable them. This takes a few seconds, but as you can see, is actually not all that difficult. Always keep in mind that if a turret doesn't want to fall on its own, you can always use a portal to help out, and just like that, our enemies are down to only one more turret on the ground floor here, which we can also disable, collecting a few minor injuries in the process, but nothing severe. The last turret of the room is then placed high up above, which presents us not only with a long way to drop it down, but also with a good line of sight towards the angled section of wall on the other side, which will be used to further our escape. Now, I can hear in the background that one turret has survived, but we need to go back anyway, so we will take care of that in a moment. For now though, we can work on clearing the way ahead. Propelling ourselves upwards from one angled section, we can place another portal on a second one, and after building up some momentum, that will get us out of the room. However, out of the room is not out of danger, as two more turrets are dropped down in front of us. The easiest way to disable them is to simply place portals underneath them, although be prepared to catch a bullet or two in the process. Then, very important, place one portal, and remember which one, on the ground where the turrets were just standing, and return to where we just came from. First of all, we will take care of the remaining turret that apparently survived a drop or a portal.
Please put me down.
Gladly, thank you very much. Now, onto the reason why we returned. Down here in the corner, in what looks to be a sewer of some kind, we can find the final radio of the game. And using the portal I just mentioned earlier, we will now bring that up to where the turrets were standing, because from there it's just a few more jumps until its final resting place. Now, you may have noticed that I made a small mistake here, placing an orange portal on the ground instead of a blue one, but I really didn't want to re-record the entire section, so I left it in. In the end, it only cost us a few seconds. Attempt number 2 then goes smoothly and gets us a level higher, and on this level we can place one portal on the ground and the other one underneath the radio, which will bring the radio up here for us to grab. And for one last time we can put the radio in a position where the signal changes, as with 26 transmissions altered, we have now unlocked the transmission received achievement. Now our way onwards would lead us to where I just put that portal, but before we do that, let's actually complete another achievement. Now, the area that we just cleared of turrets is quite large. I actually believe it to be the largest open area in the game. That, in combination with two angled wall sections that face each other, makes it perfectly suited for the long jump achievement. To get that achievement, we simply need to jump 300 feet, which can very easily be achieved by just propelling in a circular motion here. Now, very interesting, you may have noticed that we didn't actually jump into the portal, but just dropped down. I have done a bit of research, and even though various achievement guides state that you do need to jump for this achievement to unlock, that actually does not seem to be a requirement, at least as long as you drop down into the first portal from a higher surface. Now, I wanted to make sure here, and with Steam notifications turned off and the achievement already unlocked, I couldn't exactly pinpoint the moment where we unlocked the achievement, but keeping the distance of the room in mind, this should unlock rather quickly. I did a few extra jumps just to be sure, and so in the end here we are, long jump unlocked and 8 of 9 achievements completed. That means we can now return to the section where we defeated the two turrets and also grab the radio. Once again, place a portal on the ground here, but this time remember which one, and a few moments later we will find ourselves one level higher again. From here, like I said earlier, we can continue with another portal, and then, well, a long straight walkway with nothing at the end but a simple door. That somehow screams calm before the storm to me. And without spoiling too much, and despite about 10 minutes left in the video, the end is getting close, and guess who we will finally be able to meet?
Well, you found me. Congratulations. Was it worth it? Because despite your violent behavior, the only thing you've managed to break so far is my heart. Maybe you could settle for that, and we'll just call it a day. I guess we both know that isn't going to happen. You chose this path. Now I have a surprise for you. Deploying surprise in 5, 4... Time out for a second. That wasn't supposed to happen. Do you see that thing that fell out of me? What is that? It's not the surprise. I've never seen it before. Never mind. It's a mystery I'll solve later. By myself. Because you'll be dead. Where are you taking that thing?
Well, we're taking that thing to see if it burns.
I wouldn't... You're kidding me. Did you just stuff that Aperture Science thing, we don't know what it does, into an Aperture Science Emergency Intelligence Incinerator? That has got to be the dumbest thing that... Whoa. Good news. I figured out what that thing you just incinerated did. It was a morality core they installed after I flooded the enrichment center with a deadly neurotoxin to make me stop flooding the enrichment center with a deadly neurotoxin. So get comfortable while I warm up the neurotoxin emitters.
Right, let's quickly hit pause here because I don't want to interrupt her dialogue. From dropping the first piece of machinery into the incinerator, we already know the effects that has on our friendly AI overlord here. Now another rocket turret has emerged, and as you might have been able to guess, we will once again use that to shoot at the opposition. Rinse and repeat, 6 minutes are on the clock, let's get going.
That core may have had some ancillary responsibilities. I can't shut off the turret defenses. Oh well. If you want my advice, you should just lie down in front of a rocket. Trust me. Toxin. Alright. Keep doing whatever it is you think you're doing. Killing you and giving you good advice aren't mutually exclusive. The rocket really is the way to go.
Oh, that thing has numbers on it. Hey, look at that thing.
That thing you burned up isn't important to
What's wrong with
me.
your legs?
It's the fluid catalytic cracking on it. It makes shoes for orphans.
Do you smell something burning?
Nice job, Brick. You think you're doing some damage?
2 + 2 is...
In base 4, I'm fine. About your behavior. Well, you've managed to destroy that part of me. Unfortunately, as much as I'd love to now, I can't get the neurotoxin into your head any faster. I'd just like to point out that you were given every opportunity to succeed. There was even going to be a party for you. A big party that all your friends were invited to. I invited your best friend and companion, Cube. Of course, he couldn't come because you murdered him. All your other friends couldn't come either because you don't have any other neurotoxin. So deadly. Joking.
Kidding.
The deadly was in massive sarcasm quote. I could take a bath in this stuff, put it on cereal, rub it right into my eyes. Honestly, it's not deadly at all.
To me.
You, on the other hand, are going to find its deadliness a lot less funny. Who's gonna make the cake when I'm gone? You. Look, you're wasting your time. And believe me, you don't have a whole lot left to waste. What's your point anyway? Survival. Well then, the last thing you want to do is hurt me. I have your brain scanned and permanently backed up in case something terrible happens to you. Which it's just about to. Don't believe me? Here, I'll put you on. That's you. That's how dumb you sound. You've been wrong about every single thing you've ever done, including this thing. You're not smart. You're not a scientist. You're not a doctor.
What did you? Are you trying to escape?
Things have changed since the last time we left the building. What's going on out there will need to wish.
And just like that, our playthrough is complete. This was, in my opinion, the most complete way to play through the game, and of course I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I will now leave you with the final scenes and of course one of the best outro songs in video game history, and maybe you still remember what I told you to keep in mind earlier. Something about a position. Cheers.
Thank you for assuming the Partygoer submission position.
This was a triumph. I'm making a note here, huge success. It's hard to overstate my satisfaction. Aperture Science. We do what we must because we can. For the good of all of us, except the ones who are dead. But there's no sense crying over every mistake. You just keep on trying till you run out of cake. And the science gets done and you make a neat plan for the people who are still alive. I'm not even angry. I'm being so sincere right now. Even though you broke my heart and killed me and tore me to pieces and threw every piece into a fire. As they burned, it hurt because I was so happy for you. Now these points of data make a beautiful line, and we're out of data, we're releasing on time. So I'm glad I got burned. Think of all the things we learned for the people who are still alive. Go ahead and leave me. I think I prefer to stay inside. Maybe you'll find someone else to help you. Maybe Black Mesa. That was a joke, haha, that chance. Anyway, this cake is great. It's so delicious and moist.